Okay, Judge.
Are we now on YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Zilla Bana, we are proceeding on two cases, case number 601901 and 601902. I have explained to you that in each individual case, you have the right to remain silent. You have agreed to waive that right on each case. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
All right. At your request, we have placed this proceeding on YouTube. That means it is now a public hearing before the community. I also inform you that in each case, you have a right to a jury trial. That is 6 people selected from a panel or a group of people for each of these individual cases. You can do that. It is a constitutional right. Are you willing to give up that right and proceed at this time without a jury?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Now, we have also a right for each of these cases called the right of confrontation of witnesses. That means that your attorney could cross-examine, challenge, or question any witness who would testify against you if you went to trial. That right is called the right to confront your accusers. Are you giving up that right too, sir, since you're not going to go to a jury trial?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Bana. One question also, where were you born, sir?
I was born on the date of July 13, 1988 in Cameroon.
All right. Are you at this time a U.S. citizen?
No, Judge. I'm a permanent resident.
I'm sorry?
I'm a permanent resident.
All right. Legal permanent resident, Mr. Bana, have you gotten or obtained or been given advice from someone that knows what they're talking about, preferably a lawyer, concerning what, if anything, can happen to your immigration status or your deportability as a result of either one or both of these cases proceeding at this time?
Yes, Judge.
And who gave you that advice, sir?
My lawyer did, and then myself, I did some research around the United States online laws.
All right. When you say your lawyer, who are you referring to?
Mr. Juan Carlos de la Fuente.
All right. Mr. Juan Carlos de la Fuente.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you made sure that Mr. Bana has been given appropriate and important advice concerning the Padilla versus Kentucky requirements on effects that these matters individually or together can have on his immigration status and or deportability?
Yes, I have, Your Honor. I also did some research, and I found that they do not fit the criteria for deportable offense. So he understands that he will not be removed from these offenses.
All right. As you know, it's a requirement that I find out and put it on the record.
Yes, I understand.
Mr. Bana, there's another right called the right to appeal. That right, generally speaking, for each individual case, is the right for you alone or your attorney alone or the two of you together demanding that a higher court review the official record and the evidence in this proceeding. The court reporter, Ms. Kayleen Rivera, is making an official record of this proceeding. The purpose of appeal, first of all, it has to be done within certain amounts of time. It has to be done with the proper form and information for whatever challenge you wanted to make. Now, in this proceeding, this is what's called a plea bargain proceeding. And when you have a plea bargain proceeding, you give up the right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Understand it, Your Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. All right, now, you're being shown a document that is basically it's moot, but it is, if you'll notice at the top, this is the, like, we might call it the introduction or cite. All the papers, with one or two exceptions, will have this at the top of each document that we're going to be showing you. This one says cause number 601901, the state of Texas versus Alan Zila Bana in the County Court of Law number 5, Bexar County, Texas. There will be a companion 601902 on the other case. I'm trying to run these together so we don't have to just repeat everything over and over. Now, I will point out to you that the rights that I have discussed with you are going to be repeated in the written documents that we present to you. I know it's a repetition, but they're very important, so we make a record of them. So, do you understand why we will be repeating some of these in writing?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Now, the one you're being showed is called the state's consent to video conference. I asked you a moment ago if you wanted this in public or you wanted to waive the right to have this in public. You chose to have us place this through the video conference on YouTube, which complies with making this matter, presenting this matter to the public. That's under Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 27.18. This particular document you're being shown is the one where the state gave up the right to have the video conference in public or to have this hearing in public. It is a bit moot because we are in public at this time. The next document we're going to show you has the same site at the top, and it refers to the discovery acknowledgement, it's called. In the Code of Criminal Procedure, there's Article 39.14, which was passed by the legislature and requires that information and evidence specifically is noted in that statute or the law that has to be provided to you and to your attorney on each of these two cases. This discovery acknowledgement, there's one for each of the two cases. It will indicate and has the signatures of the district attorney and I presume, Mr. De La Fuente, that you have signed one or you will sign it?
I have already signed it, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will be signing it myself. It indicates that the state and your attorney have agreed that the state has complied with the requirement that you be provided information and evidence so that you can make a good decision and defend yourself. So this particular document now is one that you apparently had signed, waiving the right to have this in the courtroom or on YouTube. It's moot, but nonetheless, I'm showing it to you because it's part of the matters that we're discussing. I believe you signed an original. If you didn't, it doesn't make any difference because we are handling these hearings in public. For each of these two cases, 601 and 601901 and 601902, there is a duplicate with the difference being the different type of case and what you're doing. This document is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. That title is in bold print, all capitals. This one, 601901, says, I, Alan Zila Bana, am the defendant present in court, hereby waive the reading of the charging instrument in the above numbered and style cause. That means you know what you're charged with, which is fail to stop and give information where over $200 in damages occurred. You don't need me to read the paperwork on it because you know what you're being charged with. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. The following paragraph or sentence says, you hereby enter a plea of nolo contendere to the allegation that failed to give information failed to stop and give information for over $200 in damages was result. Is that what you're doing, sir, on nolo contendere? You're going to do that?
Josh, I'll let my lawyer answer that because I think we already discussed about it.
Sorry, I don't understand what you mean, Mr. Bana. Do you enter a plea of no contest like we spoke about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that is something that you have to
Yes.
declare, Mr. Bana. The attorney cannot declare it for you. Excuse me. To the charge, how do you plead, sir? You can plead guilty, not guilty, or nolo contendere.
Nolo contendere.
All right. To be sure, this matter is the following portions of these documents. There are 15 divisions, 1-5. The first one we're looking at right below where you declared that you were pleading no contest, nolo contendere. Number 1 says that this is the range of punishment for the particular offense, and it has a check mark next to what's called Class B. You can be fined from $0 to $2,000, in jail from 0 days all the way to 180 days. Did you see and understand that information?
Yes, Josh.
This will you'll have the same information shortly on 902, 601-902. Now, number 2 of the 15 says you have a right to a jury trial, a right to cross-examine witnesses, and the right to remain silent. I discussed those with you orally. Now you're seeing them in writing, right at the top, and it says that you are freely and voluntarily giving up those rights. Is that correct?
That's correct, Josh.
Mr. Bana, have you ever received any kind of mental health care or for mental problems?
No, Josh.
Have you ever taken or been given medications for mental health issues or problems?
No, Josh.
All right. Number 4 talks about the plea of nolo contendere. It says, and you've signed these documents, it says that you have discussed this case, you reviewed the information and evidence available to you and your attorney, and you determined that it's in your best interest to plead nolo contendere. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct, Josh.
All right, number 5, it talks about sex offender registration program. You're not a part of that, is that correct?
I'm not sex offender, Josh.
I understand that. That just, it's one thing I have to cover. I'm fairly certain that you're not. Number 6, you need to understand very clearly that any deal or plea bargain that you have made with the state, and obviously through your attorney, I do not have to accept it. I have, as a judge, I have the authority and responsibility to look over the deal and see if I accept it. I can reject it outright, totally. I can also give you a punishment within the legal range that we talked about, the Class B with a check mark, even if it's higher than what you agreed to, a heavier sentence. But if I do that, if I reject your deal, or if I give you a sentence that's higher than what you agreed to, you'd have the right to start all over again, and nothing that you said here or anything that you signed would be used against you. Do you understand that?
Understand, Josh?
All right. Number 7 talks about it has to do with the right of appeal. Did you review this with your attorney? This one talks about that if I don't give you a punishment, if I approve your deal and I don't have if I don't give you a punishment greater, in other words, I can do less than that. If that happens, you will not have a right of appeal unless there's been motions filed and ruled on by the court. Is that understood?
Understood, Josh.
Number 8, we covered a while ago when I asked you about where you were born and whether you were a citizen. It's important that you know that, and apparently there's a Supreme Court case called Padilla versus Kentucky that requires that the court inquire about that and make sure that you have been given the appropriate information. Number 9 does not apply to you because you're not involved in a family violence case. Number 10, this again has to do with the criminal procedure and sex offender registration program. That doesn't apply to you. 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Did you review all of these?
Yes, Josh.
Number 15 says that there's a law that requires that you, before I sentence you, that we get what's called a, excuse me, a risk and needs assessment performed. We can waive that if you choose to. Do you want to proceed on this matter, or do you want to demand a risk and needs assessment?
Waive it.
Very good. All right. Do you have any questions about the document we just finished?
No, Josh.
All right. The one we have now before you, again, it has the information on top, the citation. It has a series of vertically placed boxes, and next to them, it has some kind of a declaration or information. The fifth one says this is a plea bargain case where the defendant has no right of appeal. Did you see and understand that? Did you review that with your attorney?
Yes, Josh.
Thank you, sir. I would approve that document for the record. All of these documents will be made of record. Now we have an application for Mr. Edelman or Mr. De La Fuente. What are we going to do here?
It's a deferred adjudication, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
It's deferred adjudication.
All right. This is an application for deferred adjudication. Deferred adjudication is a form of probation, that is court supervision. I will tell you that it is the best type of probation under the circumstances. If you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, Mr. Bana, then this case gets dismissed and you were not convicted of it. I will not find you guilty, even though a plea of nolo contendere is considered a guilty plea by this court. It is important that you know that if you violate the conditions, if you violate them or you fail to complete them, the state can ask me to give you official notice, bring you in for a hearing, and then determine if we go ahead and enter a final conviction. A final record then would follow you the rest of your life on either one of these two cases. Do you understand that?
Understand it, Josh.
All righty. Mr. Bana, also, if you violate your conditions and we bring you in and have a hearing, the court will then, if you're convicted, we would have the full range of punishment to consider. That would be a fine anywhere from $0 to $2,000 and jail from 0 days to 180 days. I expect that will not happen, and I hope that it does not. You understand?
Yes, Your Judge.
All right. Next document, Patty. This is a personal data sheet. Mine doesn't show the information. Did you put information in the ones you reviewed with your attorney?
Yes, Judge. I think I did fill out something like that.
All right. Are you married or single?
I'm divorced, Josh.
All right. Do you have children that you have to support?
I have 3 kids. One live with me, and then 2 others. One my twins. I pay child support for them.
All right. Now, where do you work, sir? For whom do you work?
I was working with the Toyota Texas, but since the pandemic started, we were all um, lay out, and then right now I only support myself with the state unemployment benefit.
All right,
Excuse me, I didn't understand the name of your employer.
Toyota Texas.
but he's no longer employed there. You were previously employed by the,
I'm no more employed over there.
sorry?
I'm no more employed over there. I'm on unemployment right now.
I got you. All right. The form that you're being shown now is what's called a plea agreement. This is on case number 601901 specifically. The top will show that you are not a U.S. citizen, and it will show that there's been compliance with Padilla versus Kentucky, that you've been fully and accurately informed about the consequences the particular charge may have on immigration status or deportability. We'll put in there, Ms. Garcia, that the information provided was by Attorney Juan Carlos de la Fuente. Now, this next section, defendant's acknowledgement, is a repetition of what we've already said and done. All these, the 5 boxes will be checked off. The court is satisfied that, and notes that these matters have been complied with. Now, to the charge of failure to stop and give information where damage has occurred in excess of $200, officially, how do you plead, sir?
No contendent.
Very good. The court accepts your plea. I find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, including your own plea. However, I do not find you guilty because I am honoring the agreement that you have had made for you, or that you made with the state. You are ordered, sentenced and ordered as follows. You will appear within 7 days to provide a thumbprint pursuant to Code of Criminal Procedure 38.3 that will be placed on the documents in this case. This matter will run concurrent with case number 601902. You are granted deferred adjudication for 12 months. You will perform 48 hours of community service restitution, and you will pay restitution to Nadia Esquivel. The amount to be paid will be determined by the court through the probation office. You will take and complete a driver safety course. I am going to provide or require a supervisory fee that is the minimum by law, which is $25 per month. Is that understood, sir? We're on the same page?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Now, all this information also applies to case number 601902. On 601902, you were charged with resisting arrest, search, or transportation. How do you want to put up the forms, or do you have them handy?
I'm getting them, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now looking at the forms for case number 601902. They are identical forms, but the difference being that even though the events occurred on the same day, 25 November of 18, on this matter, this is the resisting arrest charge under 601902. Other than that, the forms and information are all the same. The discovery acknowledgement is acknowledged by state and defense attorney. The defendant's consent to video conference is moot because we're doing this in public at his request. We have the defendant's waiver of constitutional rights and court's admonitions. The rights that applied in 601-901 are the same rights that apply in 601-902. Do you have any questions about all that?
Oh, Judge.
All right. You'll notice in that page on waiver of constitutional rights and court's admonitions, this one is different. Resisting arrest is a Class A misdemeanor. The fine can be $0 to $4,000 and jail 0 days to 1 year. Did you see and understand that distinction?
Yes, Judge.
In this number 2 there, in this particular case, and you individually give up your right to a jury trial, cross-examine witnesses, and the right to remain silent. You have agreed to those voluntarily and freely. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
All right. 3 is on mental health issues. 4 is a nolo contendere. You understand the distinction, and you've made that decision with the advice and understanding of the information and evidence, right?
Yes, Judge.
5 and 6, number 5 does not apply. It's involves sex offender issues. Number 6, again, I repeat, just as a precaution, any agreement that you've made concerning this particular case, I do not have to accept. I have the authority and responsibility to do so or reject it. I can also give you any punishment in the range of punishment that we talked about for Class A in this case. So you understand that. The rest is a repetition of those matters that we've discussed. They all apply to this individual case. And finally, number 15, do you want a risk and needs assessment, or do you want to proceed with this matter now?
Proceed.
Thank you, sir. All right. The 5th box will be checked off on the right of appeal. I've explained it to you previously on 901, and this one is the same with you here. You do not have a right of appeal because this is a plea bargain case. Any question on that?
No, Judge.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry we're having to repeat all this, but they're 2 different cases. I want to make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's. The application, is this going to be deferred also, gentlemen?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Specifically in 601-902, this is particularly important. This is a Class A misdemeanor, and you will be granted deferred adjudication. I will honor that decision and the agreement that you've made. The same thing applies to this particular case, that deferred adjudication, if you live up to, Mr. Bana, 100% of the conditions of supervision, then the case will be dismissed and you're not convicted of it. The opposite occurs if you fail or refuse to complete the conditions, 100% of them, then we can have, after giving proper notice, we can have a hearing in if the evidence substantiates it, you can be convicted forever. The only exception would be if you were good friends with the Texas governor and he gave you a pardon. You know how much of a chance you have of that, right?
I don't know, Your Honor.
All right. The personal data sheet is the same as the previous.
Okay.
You haven't changed anything in the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes, right?
I haven't changed nothing.
All righty. Plea agreement sheet, Patty.
I'm getting it, Judge. Hold on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Josh, I have a question.
Pardon me, sir?
Go ahead, Josh.
All right. Again, referring to case number 601902, State of Texas versus Alan Zilla Bana. This is the plea agreement that's been reached. It will note at the top that you are not a U.S. citizen and that in this case, obviously, because it's the same date as the previous 601901, you are not a U.S. citizen, but you've been fully informed about the importance of what, if any, impact or consequences can arise from these two cases regarding your immigration status or your deportability. Mr. Juan Carlos de la Fuente has assured the court, and as you have, that the requirements of Padilla versus Kentucky have been fully met. Scroll, please. To this charge, that is resisting arrest, search, or transportation, how do you plead, sir?
Nolo contender.
Very good. As I have explained before, nolo contendere in this court is considered a guilty plea. However, there is an agreement for deferred adjudication. So, although I find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty, I do not find you guilty at this time. Instead, we're granting you deferred adjudication. The punishment and orders are as follows. You will appear in court within 7 days to affix your thumbprint to the documents in 601902. 601902 will be concurrent with 601901. You're granted deferred adjudication for 12 months. There is zero fine. You will perform 48 hours of community service restitution. The supervisory fee will be $25, as is 601901, and they are running concurrent. Questions from the state?
No, Josh.
No questions from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. De La Fuente, questions from defense?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Bana, you said no. You have no questions. You understand what we've done.
I understand it. I think they're gonna send me the paperwork, right?
There will be some communication with you shortly. Ms. Luna will arrange it, but be aware, you're going to be required to go, if not today, as soon as they tell you, for orientation. They will have you sign the conditions of supervision, of the conditions of the deferred adjudication. You'll walk out of that office with copies in your hands. They'll be very clear what is required of you completely. Is that clear?
That's clear, Josh.
Very good. Then, gentlemen, ladies, this will conclude the hearings on cases number 601901 and 601902, the state versus Alan Zilla Bana. For the record, Alan is spelled by the gentleman A-L-A-I-N, but it is pronounced Allen. Is that correct, Mr. Bana?
That's correct, Josh.
All right. All of you be blessed, be well, and be safe. Mr.
Judge,
Bana,
real
ma'am.
quick, sorry, I need to talk to Mr. Bana because the application wasn't completed and I need to get his information.
Very good. Mr. Bana, my court coordinator will place you and Ms. Luna in breakout. She will ask you questions. You'll need to provide the information that she seeks. Any other question?
No, Your Honor.
Judge, may I stop the YouTube streaming?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.